to Heroes of Cosplay Sanctuary Podcast. I'm your host, Scotty B. And on today's show, we're going to be talking about other people's opinion. But before we get to that, a quick plug for myself. Find me online at Heroes of Cosplay Sanctuary on Instagram, or you can tweet me on at HoCS Podcast. Again, on Twitter, HoCS Podcast. Vero, Scotty B Official. And of course, I will link to my YouTube channel in the show notes. Please do find me. Of course, you can always email me as well. ScottyB at HoCSpodcast.com. And now, on with the show. So, today I'd like to spend a little bit of time talking to you about opinion in cosplay. So we're talking about the opinion of cosplay just in general and also just of fandoms everywhere. So how you react to other people's opinion is really your own choice. But let's say, the large fandoms, the really, really big fandoms that are out there that are very mainstream, Harry Potter, Supernatural, a lot of different anime fandoms, and even My Little Pony. There's a lot that saturates social media, and we express ourselves inside of those fandoms. So that's what it's all about. That's cosplay. Okay, and if you're in cosplay, you know that. If you're not, that's what it's all about. So if you're thinking about getting into cosplay, it is about expressing fandom, and one of the things that you have to think about is other people's opinion and how you deal with that. So the long and short of what I will tell you in this podcast is that you have to really minimize the opinions of others. And of course, the one place that you're putting all of this is out on the internet, where everybody's opinion counts for something. And it's very easy to be swayed and influenced by what other people are saying. And of course, that's the whole point of influencer marketing. That's why you get into that space, is because what you produce or curate, your content, it matters in the marketplace. It matters on the internet. It matters inside of the industry that you are in, which is cosplay. So what you produce and how you produce it, whether you are someone who knows a lot about makeup or art, or you're good at creating armor, or you're good at creating props. I can run through the whole list. I do very, very often. If you're good at sewing, if you're good at everything cosplay, wigs, makeup, I think I already mentioned that. That's really a lot of what happens out in the marketplace, out in the industry, out in the interwebs. We often see people trying to pass off their opinion as factual information, and that can make it very hard to navigate too. So if you follow someone, or if you know people in your space who you look up to or that you trust, and you see them and what they're posting, and you start to get very comparative to what they're doing, and you try to mirror them, or you really value their opinion, that it can become factual to you, or that they can pass it off as fact. It's been known to happen. I always try to reinforce my opinion with fact versus pass it off as fact. So what I know and what I've researched 20 years inside of business and inside of just fandom in general, I mean, a lot of what I see and what I do and my inspirations come from everything that I know about the industry, and that is really what Heroes of Cosplay Sanctuary is about. It's about having a safe place to express that fandom and be part of the community. You can share your opinion and your story here. That's the whole point of what I do, and it's why I continue to do it, and I love doing it. It's the expression. And it's how I express it, because you know what? My skills in cosplay aren't that great right now. And going back over just launching the YouTube channel, which I did not too long ago, and just going through that whole process, which I've been working on, on and off for a long time. It's been years in the making. And I finally found the niche that I want to use, and I finally found the content that I want to produce, and I'm just going to keep going from there. It won't always be a podcast. Someday I would love to have a fully produced studio shot show. So that's the goal. And how I get there and what I offer through that platform is a lot of work. and it's a long path. So whatever you're doing, certainly you can't have what other people think about that get in your way. And what by other people, I don't necessarily mean just the people on the internet, but also the people in your life, the people that their opinion has the most influence and sway on what you do, your family, your friends, your coworkers, your boss, the people that you really don't want to tell about your side hustle, the people that you really don't want to tell about cosplay necessarily. You don't really want them to find your feed, because if they find it, they'll have an opinion about it, right? That's the whole thing. That's the whole reason why you wouldn't want them to know. My opinion is that, honestly, there are so many miserable people. Hey, it's my podcast, right? I can say what I want. This is just an observation, but I do see that people are in general kind of negative. They are in general a little bit grumpy, and that can work away at you. And if you're trying to be positive and you're trying to build something outside of what you normally do, if you have a 9 to 5 or whatever the case is, that can be a very big challenge if you bring all of that home with you, or if you carry that with you. It's really just the opinion of everyone else that's weighing on you. This opinion can come in two forms. So it's not necessarily just the negative comments that can affect you. The positive comments can affect you too. And you're going to react to positivity in one of two ways. You're either going to reject what people are saying, or you're going to go with it and it's going to build you up, right? There's really not too much in between. Either way that you see it, they are influencing your decisions. So either you're making decisions and you're going with what you're doing, not because of the way that you feel about it, but because of how the marketplace reacts to it. So if you create a post and it gets a bunch of likes, oh, well, I'm going to do that over and over again because everyone likes that. It doesn't matter if I like it. It doesn't matter if it's something that resonates with me. If everybody wants to see Cable and they don't want to see Wolverine, or if everybody wants to see Green Arrow and they don't want to see Hawkeye, whatever the case is, if they want to see art and they don't want to see shots of me, if they want to see shots of collabs and not just me on my own, if they want to hear what I have to say versus see me in a video, what gets the most attention? That's positive. You know, people like what I'm doing. Okay, I'm going to do more of what they like. I'm not necessarily doing more of what I like in those instances. And then there are negative comments. Negative comments can be a motivator. And at least if you are getting negative comments, you are getting comments. So there's that. And that's how I look at it is, hey, let's bring a little bit of Gary V philosophy back into the podcast and say, you know what, if your people are hating on you and having an opinion about what you do, guess what? They're entitled to it. They can have an opinion. There's a borderline for that, which we'll get into in another cast about harassment. They're allowed to think something, like that's fine, but at least that they're there. And being able to understand where they're coming from is very internal and it's very hard to cultivate, but that's where I go if I receive negative feedback or whatever the case may be. If there's a lot of hate coming at me or just an opinion in general of what I should or shouldn't be doing, I have to produce all of this. So if I want to put something on YouTube and it really is just a podcast, well, I'm going to do that first because it's where I am right now. And everybody's at a different space. Everybody, this isn't where I started. I started just with audio. And I still really don't feel like I'm creating a lot of content, even though I've pretty much tripled or quadrupled my presence online in the last few weeks. But I still don't feel like that's enough to reach the audience and the market that I want to reach. So that can weigh on you too. Positive and negative comments. Don't focus too much on either, because no one can build you up like you can build yourself up. And maybe you're not there yet, because it takes a lot of courage, confidence, and belief in yourself in order to get there. And I'm not here to tell you how to do that or where you are in that process, but it really is. Anybody in fitness can confirm this. It's great to have a coach, but the day that you decide that this is your lifestyle, the day that you decide that you're enough, that you can put yourself through your own paces and you can build yourself up, is the day that fitness starts to work for you, not you working for it or not it telling you what to do all of the time. And the cosplay is the same way. If you're doing it for everyone else, do it for you, do it for the fandom, do it for yourself. But if you're looking for the masses, if you're looking for mass approval, you're never going to find it. You're never going to feel whole looking for approval from the masses or wondering if the trolls will ever go away. Another point, don't let the trolls ruin what you've built. Don't let them take up your time, because that's one thing you can never get back. The more time that you spend on the trolls, it's less time that you can spend with your true fan base. It's less time that you can spend working on your next project, your current project, or just making content. The more they DM you, the more you get engaged with people who may not, it might just be fun for them. You never really know. You don't know if they're really trying to get at you or if they're just having fun. Like maybe there's a group of people in front of a phone just laughing at whatever response they can get. You just don't know. It's online. And even if it isn't, even if it's face to face, don't spend time with someone who's just going to sit there and knock you down for the just because they can. Just hey, free speech. I don't like what you. I'm not going to get into too much detail. I've heard and I've seen some really just bad, horrible things, like people telling people to get a job as if they would even know. I mean, if I know anything, cosplayers are like the hardest workers on earth. You know, they're working full time. They're working 2 jobs, sometimes more. They're doing all this stuff online, and they're still building all these things on the side. Like, I would never call myself lazy because I'm working pretty constantly. I work on the weekends too, and then I come and do this on the side. Like, this is not a job. I'm not doing this for an income of any kind. It is primarily a hobby, but that doesn't mean that I don't have any skill in it. And I would say that to any cosplayer out there, just because you're doing it as a hobby doesn't mean you're not getting better at it. I guess that's my opinion. Don't internalize that too much. Just look at what you do. Look inside of you and go, yeah, I do spend a lot of time on this. I am getting better. Like, look at what I did. You know, look at the pictures from a year ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago. Look at how much space. Look at how many lines I've crossed, or look at how many boxes I've checked. Sometimes I think that perhaps we are a little too sensitive. We don't let things roll off our back. We let them get to us, and that's the whole point. Like, trolls want that. A lot of people online want that. They want to be able to get to you, to push inside somehow. The other side of that is you might be just a little too sensitive about how you're going about dealing with those people. There's some sensitivity in being too guarded or just letting one thing dictate how you react, their opinion. You know, there's mob mentality often. It's not just one person. It's like a whole group chat that just kind of goes south. The person who incited it, maybe they didn't even realize that what the monster that they were creating, and this has been going on since the dawn of time, that one person says one thing and then suddenly there's a mob of people going, yeah, well, I you know, and they take their pitchforks and their proverbial torches and they go and roast someone, whether they know anything about what's going on or not, because it's one fan base versus another fan base, and perhaps even in the same space. And I've seen it more than once and frequently in the cosplay community is there are attacks, or there are perceived attacks, or talking through people to each other, and that's never healthy for either person. And often neither person they're just reacting to it like they didn't have a lot to do with anything that incited the incident in the first place. Also, it's easy when it's nasty, but when it's just a straight, like, maybe you're reading the comment wrong, maybe you're just hearing them wrong, maybe your interpretation of whatever you're seeing. Again, this is it boils down to opinion. So your opinion, their opinion, are we being too sensitive? Are we just overthinking the whole, like, it's fandom, ladies and gentlemen. Are we overthinking? Is this, I mean, for some people it is income. It's what you do every day, and I appreciate that. But I would find that those people, the people who are in this space constantly, they're not taking themselves they don't take themselves as seriously. I don't see that. I don't see the full-timers in many cases taking themselves quite that seriously. Some do. If you've got a booth and you're there for your people, your fans, what you're portraying, and it's making money for you, I think there's just a different feeling. And I hope to see some of this as I get through to more conventions and talk to more cosplayers. It's what I want to do at these towards the close of this season and for season 2 is to really explore the differences when people do full-time and when they have it as a hobby, and just what those thoughts and what those stories are. So everybody can have an opinion or a bias. That's like the whole point. And you can believe yours is better, or you can believe that there are alternatives, whatever you want to do. So how do you navigate it? What tips could I possibly give you, the person listening to my podcast, about opinion and about how to deal with and navigate other people's opinions? Well, I would tell you to do you. Stick to you. Stick to your guns. Stay in your lane. That's what my mentor would say to me. She'd say, stay in your lane. The real important thing here is stick to your guns. Be you. Do you. Nobody else can do that. If you have a side, if you have a perspective, if you know what you're about and you know why you're saying the things that you're saying, that's okay. I can appreciate that. I hope other people can, but you're going to draw some opinion about that. Don't back away from who you are as a result of those opinions. And maybe somebody's presenting you with some pretty strong arguments against and fact, and maybe it is altering your belief, and that's fine too. But to simply dismiss yourself for what someone else thinks or what their opinion is of you or what you're doing out of context, I'm not sure that's a really good reason to just totally abandon your perspective. If I'm counting tips, tip number 2, think before you respond. Okay, you're never in a rush. If you need to get back to somebody online and there's an offer on the table, great. But if it's just a comment, it's good to respond to people, but you are not your own customer service department for Instagram, for Vero, or any of these other platforms. You're a human being and you need your own space. And if you're not getting back to people and they're tapping their foot because they sent you a message and they don't even know you, when I reach out to people and I send them direct messages, I don't expect that they just get back to me instantly. I mean, take your time. Community, Instagram or wherever you are, YouTube, it's great to get comments. Comments are not my error, but I've heard them referred to as that before. Comments are my error. It's important to get back questions, concerns, comments, but this isn't a business. I don't have a department that just fields all of this, and you are not buying anything from me. So there's no transaction here. There's no contract. There's no nothing. It's just talking. We're just having a conversation. So yeah, I will try to get to you as soon as I can. If you send me an email, of course, scottyb@HoCSpodcast.com. If you send me an email, it's a little bit different, and I do try to respond to people as fast as I can. But, bear in mind, again, this is what I do in the time that I have. Tip 3, well, and I shouldn't end there either because this isn't about me. This is about thinking before you respond. So just think it through. Like, read the comment, read it a few times, go over it in your head, pause, breathe, and then respond. Thoughtful comments go a long way online. Sending emojis or just clicking the button doesn't have as much of resonance. It doesn't have that much resonance at all anymore. I mean, yes, you're acknowledging that person's existence, but I would rather someone took the time to actually respond and took longer, my opinion, than me sending a comment and just them clicking the button going, oh yeah, somebody else. And it's funny when you notice it happening. Diversify. Okay, tip 3, diversify. Have a main platform, but be all over the place. So if you do catch heat one place, it really does it gets hard for individuals or for mobs to track. And if you are in more than one space and you are building, perhaps you have a main space like Vero, or perhaps you have a main space like Twitter, or perhaps you have a main space like YouTube, wherever you happen to be building, try and diversify. The rule of thumb is have 10 spaces. Be on the top 10 apps for whatever you're doing. And if you're in that many spaces, it's going to be really hard for one person or one group to follow you into every single one of those spaces. I mean, just think of all the time that they have to spend because you disagreed with them about, Rainbow Bright. And you said that, the first episode just really didn't fit with the other ones. Whatever the case. Well, actually, that would have been my opinion. I really liked the first episode. Diversify. Just send your thoughts into the interwebs on several different platforms. The more there is, the easier it will be for you to be seen. The more content that you have out there for people to find what you do and find who you are and follow and click and like and do all of that wonderful stuff and be social. But also it builds your brand. So be diverse. Talk about different things. If you spend too much time, this is tip number 4. If you spend too much time on one topic, you will probably see the trend would be that more people will hit you on that topic because it's all you talk about. So the more you spend with one thing, the more likely it is, and that can be your cosplay, that can be the Snyder Cut, that can be pineapples. Everybody has an opinion. They all have value, but if you talk about different things, it seems that it's diminished. They're like, okay, well, they've moved on from it. So it's one post, or it's 3 posts, or it's a set, whatever. Or it comes back up here and there, but it's not everything they're about. So, if you want everything that's about this subject, then go to the page for that subject. Or, get into the chat room. I don't know, do we even have chat rooms anymore? Tip 5? Are there 5? Yeah, I have lots of tips. Tip 5, proofread and run official posts past someone before putting them up in the world. I mean, if you have to. I mean, that's, read your copy. It's called copy. The things that you put in the written word in marketing spaces, it's copy. Proofread it. Like, make sure that it makes sense. Read it out loud. Go over it. If you're not confident about what you're saying, or if you're saying more than 4 words, go over your long form posts and make sure that you're okay with what you're saying. Maybe you are, and you're just like, okay, fine. But sometimes when somebody else that reads it, they have their opinion of that. But sometimes it helps, at least, to get a little bit of perspective on what you're saying, so that you're not, if it's your thought process or if it's your feeling not to do so, you're not offending too many people. Okay, and I just mean in extreme cases where you really want to go off. Again, that goes back to thinking through things. So think through what you're going to write and then, proofread it. Because I think it's just better to read something that is both grammatically and spelled correctly. And sometimes I'm okay with the grammar, but it really does build a lot of credibility on what you're saying, to have it all look and feel and be voiced appropriately, but also proofread. Tip 6, is it you? Reflect on yourself and how you're projecting. And, what I try to do is try to remain neutral and look at it from other points of view. So that kind of goes with the last tip, is look at what other people would think of what you're doing. Don't base everything that you're posting on that. Don't base your cosplay on that, but look at what you've done. Look at, just go, okay, this is what I'm presenting. Does this resonate with me? Is this what I want to be? Is this who I am? Is this the space? Like, that's what I do with my podcast anyways. Like, I don't cover topics that I don't want to talk about. And clearly I do, because I go on for like a half an hour sometimes and just go. I don't run out of content because I go over it, I proofread it, I look at it, and I go, yeah, this is me. This is what I want to say. This isn't what I want the audience or what I think they should hear. This is what I want to talk about. This is this is how I'm going to cover this subject. Final tip: block, ignore, redirect. Block, ignore, redirect. That's really all there is to it. Don't waste your time getting into an argument with the unknown masses. Don't waste your time getting into an argument with trolls. Block them, ignore them, or send them somewhere else. Try to see their perspective and just go, hey, why did you come here to say that? Why are we talking about this? Or why do you feel that way? Don't spend a ton of time on it. Or just say, you know what? You can say that. That's cool. Maybe there's something with what I said that was wrong. Like, okay, if it's not going anywhere, ignore it. Okay, there are going to be people who are going to send you negative comments. I'll probably get negative comments for this podcast because it's so long. It's okay. You don't have to listen. You can skim it. You can fast forward through parts of it. You can just not listen to it. Really, there's tons of choices. There's a million podcasts out there. Not quite as many as our YouTube channels, but there are plenty of choices. So if this isn't your choice and you don't, you're going to send me hate, or you're going to just send me your opinion about how I should do this or what would make it better, like some of that's great. And if it gets too nasty and you're just really being harassing, I'm going to block you or report you. I try to stay as neutral or be positive. I'm not running after people and, running them down for what they do or who they are. Like no, you don't do that. And really focus on your support. You have a group of people out there who support you. It's your tribe. Focus on that. And really, that's all I have to say right now on other people's opinions. I would give you the rundown, but I think I've mentioned where you can find me, and I've mentioned what's the best way to reach me. If you have questions, comments, concerns, or would like to be a guest on the show, please send me an email, scottyb@HoCSpodcast.com, and it would be great to talk to you. At least we can get that conversation going. And of course, you can follow me online. All of the notes will be in the show notes, or everywhere you can find me will be in the show notes. And until the next episode, this is Scotty B saying thank you so much for listening. Bye-bye.